This is Lucy, your clarity coach, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to our Filling Your Cup series this August. It is a 5-part series that focuses on refreshing, enriching, and nurturing your mental health. Big buzzword in today's world, your mental health. And we need to be taking it seriously. And I'm so grateful for one, that the spotlight is on our mental health. A lot of mental wellness that we encourage. Now, the episodes that I have are 5. And these episodes are just supercharged with information on personal development, information that you can use immediately, apply as soon as you finish a session, that you can already start applying, because these are personal experiences from my own life that I choose to share with you. Now, as I said, it is a 5-part series. The first one was about filling your cup with motivators. And during this session, I was centering around goals and making them SMART. And SMART being that acronym that I encouraged you to test yourself against, rather test your goals against, so that at least you know it's something tangible, something I can come back and measure over a certain time period. We also talked about picking your inner circle. What is your support or your resource group? How do you go about doing this? How do you know who you need in your inner circle? The choice is yours, actually. But when you have a SMART goal and you do decide this is how I want to go, you know the end game. And if you know the end game, you know what kind of resources you need to get you there. And therefore, filling your cup with motivators helps you. These motivators could be an incident or an environment. It could be a person. It could be you, whatever it is that you're doing, for instance, your experiences. But these are all motivators. The choice is yours, what you pick and choose and put inside your basket. Because if anything, it helps you to get back up and do it all over again with those 24-hour start. And then once you get doing it or get onto it, it's about rewarding yourself. That's another motivator. So that was filling your cup with motivators. We then moved on to filling your cup with patience. What a paradox. What a paradox. Patience, somebody would ask, Lucy, how do we fill our cup with patience? Patience is one of those hard things to work on. But then I gave you tips of how I have managed to stay true to filling my cup with patience. It's not easy. But for the bit that I have done and I continue doing, I shared with you. And one of them was being present in a non-judgmental way. And in this way, I shared with you how I judged myself heavily. And because I judged myself, I then judged others. I judged people, I judged situations. This became like second nature for me until I attended a course which then helped me to understand that approaching a situation or a person from a non-judgmental way is the same way I need to approach myself. There's a lot of richness there, and how you're going to show up is going to be based on what your approach is. And then there was managing expectations. I'm a perfectionist and I keep on talking about that. And therefore I've got very high expectations of myself. And when I have that, it then reflects as behavior on others. I expect a lot from people. When you say you're going to do something, I just cannot reconcile with the fact that you don't do what you say you're going to do. But that's me. So I'm learning with patience, or I've continued to learn with patience. I need to manage my expectations and extend grace. And this goes across everything that I do in life. And take my wins as they come. I need to trust the process. We cannot hurry the process because then there's no value or worth in it if I'm able to do it overnight. It's that journey that I take that helps me to understand the trusting of the process is what I need to put one foot in front of another. Because once you do it now, you can do it again tomorrow, you can do it again a month from now, because you'll just remind yourself. You know, processes take time to unfold. We need to allow them to happen. And this is how filling my cup with patience has allowed me to embrace exactly that. What we had in our last episode was honoring achievements. And honoring achievements was a big topic because as human beings, we automatically look at bigger achievements as opposed to looking for smaller achievements. And I know some of you out there are already appreciating the smaller things that you do in life. It's one step at a time. Just being able to do that is an achievement. There are those who are unable to take a step forward, but here you are, taking multiple steps forward and not giving yourself a pat on the back. So one way is to reflect. And reflection, I refer to it as self-audit. Audit what your day is like. Give yourself a time frame. Because when you give yourself a time frame, you are able to understand that from this time to this time, this is the audit that I'm carrying out, and this is what I experienced. And these are my achievements. Just the fact that you showed up, achievement. The fact that you kept the time, achievement. That you had the intention. My mother used to say to me, I give you A for effort. So the effort, again, is achievement. It doesn't have to be 100%. It just makes the fact that showing up is so important. So honoring your achievements, tick, 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 and giving meaning to them, giving meaning to these achievements. How did I feel when I achieved? Where was my attention? Where did it go when I achieved? What language am I speaking to myself when I achieve? And what meaning exactly, like we're saying, did I give it? And that is my PALM method. Something so simple and so relatable that you can use every day. Like I said, I assure you, you can pull this off every day of your life. I beg your pardon. You can pull it off every day of your life. And then there was playing to your strengths. As opposed to putting the spotlight on your weaknesses, how about putting the spotlight on your strengths? This is something you already know how to do. You're so good at it. So let's work with that. And where the weaknesses are, that's room for improvement. But if you can collaborate and get somebody who has a strength for your weakness, that you can work together. That is something that we were discussing when it came to honoring your achievements. And then we talked about working on those lessons in life, which was a great preamble to today's session, which is about filling your cup with lessons from failure. And once we're done with this session, then next session is going to be about the choice of servanthood. I absolutely love that one. I'm looking forward to it, definitely. So today I encourage you to be intentional and conscious about what it is that you do for your mental health. Because like I said, yes, it is a buzzword, but it is real. It is your life. It is what's going to help you put that foot one in front of the other. Because we are not devoid of challenges and difficult situations in our life. So this episode, guys, we seek to know how to use the lessons from failure to impact our mental health. And I'll be sharing with you 3 tips that continuously serve me well. But hey, I would love to hear from you. What is it that works for you, has worked for you? Share with us so that we can share with everybody else and they can benefit from what is working for you. Today, it's my 3 tips, and I'm starting with the first one, which is resilience and growth mindset. Now, when it comes to resilience and growth mindset, I didn't always have an awareness for it. I just felt I was showing up, and therefore I was losing an opportunity right there to be able to work on that resilience and growth mindset. Things have changed. Now that I have this awareness, in fact, if I'm being honest, there's more pressure than before. More pressure on myself, like I said, managing my expectations. I am now putting more pressure on myself to be a better version on this journey of being better. So it's just amazing that when I do this particular exercise, what it does for me. So in resilience and growth mindset, I'm embracing failure. And in this way, it encourages the development of my growth mindset. And you're asking me, how? Well, what I have done, and I hope this helps you, instead of viewing failure as a permanent setback, how about seeing it as a lesson to understand that you can be able to improve and grow from your mistakes? You heard me right. I'm alluding to a silver lining. So with failures or mistakes, as you want to call them or refer to them, look at the silver lining. What is this mistake or this failure giving you an opportunity to do? Once you do this, you have planted a seed. Every time that you perceive a failure has happened or you have made a mistake, you're not paralyzed by it, but in fact, you are energized to look for the opportunity. You're like, I've got to grab this opportunity before I lose it. This is a mind shift. And in that mind shift of you thinking like this, it grows your mindset. And this can, increase your resilience. Because now I got to do this, guys. And when I did 1, 2, 3, I became stronger in it. And as you become more equipped to handle challenges and setbacks, you're less likely to dwell on your failures and more likely to see them as opportunities for personal development. And I'm big on this. Yes, I have my bad days. It's not every day when I'm smiling like this and I'm just firing with ideas. I just find that because of the experiences that I have gone through, I'm able to show up even better when I have failures in my life and mistakes. Those are the moments when I stop and I look for different perspectives. What could I have done better? So that next time when I'm faced with this difficult situation, with this challenge, I already have a foundation or a basket of answers that I can relate to. So filling my cup with failures, or rather with lessons from those failures or lessons from those mistakes, becomes an intentional act on my part. I become conscious. So what about you? What happens to you when you experience failure? Do you use it as an opportunity, like a silver lining, and figuring out what the gift is and how we can work this to the next level? Or do you get so paralyzed with fear and anxiety? You see, this positive outlook can contribute to improved mental wellness, but you need to be aware of it. You need to be cognizant of the fact that I am being paralyzed by my fear and by my anxiety that is related to fear. Because it's in a construct, in this framework that you're looking at this failure. So this failure is actually giving you anxiety. It's actually giving you this stress. So I move you on to the second part where I'm saying reduced fear and anxiety is something that is true. It can happen for you. I have done it. And actually, if you've been following me, I have shared 5 B's to help you cope with anxiety. I mean, stop to think about it right now. What kind of anxiety do you experience? Perhaps you're driving in traffic and you're late for an appointment that suddenly somebody called you and said it's going to happen half an hour earlier. And you were so set up the entire day. You had your clock, your alarm clock on. You knew what time you're going to get there 15 minutes before. You're going to have a lay of the land. You were going to freshen up and you're going to sit down and go over your notes again. But guess what? You get a phone call. It's happening half an hour in advance. Stress, fear, anxiety. So these 5 B's that I have help you to cope with this anxiety, because life happens. You have no control of the external world. You only have control of the input, the things that you put in. And therefore you are ready to roll. So here are 5 B's. The first B is breathe. And you've heard me say this, you most probably have seen a reel about it, but just in case you haven't, the 5 B's actually in no particular order. The first one is breathe. Breathing in and breathing out, just inhaling and exhaling. And the deeper one is inhaling and being able to engage your 5 senses before you exhale. So your first breath could be about the taste. The second breath could be about smell. The third breath could be about what you're hearing. The fourth breath could be about what you're seeing. The fifth breath could be about what you're feeling. As long as you are engaging your 5 senses, you will find that at the end of that breathing, you have shifted your emotional state. If not that, then you have baskets of joy. Like I've said to you, I have a basket. That's where I put all these things in for me that I can go and withdraw. What kind of basket do you have of achievements? Do you know what your achievements have been in the last, 8 hours? Have you been taking stock? Please do. Because when you take stock, you're able to use it in moments of anxiety and say, I can do this. I've got this. I've already done it in the last 8 hours. It's simple talk, isn't it? But it's true to you because you have done it and you have proof. Not only that, we move on to a brisk walk. We are shifting the emotional state from here because it is taking space in our minds. That's where anxiety lives. It's taking up this space and it's not allowing us to be creative or to have clarity. Remove it from here and shift it somewhere else. When you go for a brisk walk, things feel better. Things sound better. You begin to get solutions. Go for a brisk walk. That is your number 3. Your number 4 is writing it down. So it's blogging. When you write down, you're able again to shift it from your mind onto paper. And here you can see it clearer. You are able to walk in and out of that emotional state. It's not going to hold you prisoner unless you allow it to. It's like somebody once said to me, if your hand is over a candle or a burning flame, do you keep your hand there or do you take it off? That is you realizing that here there is some danger. And lifting your hand means you're going into safety. It's the same thing with an emotional state. If you remain in that anxious state, it's not good for you. You're burning your hand or your palm. Lift your hand off. Shift that emotional state from where it is into somewhere else so that it's a solution. And the last B is to be present. And I know I have belabored that point, but anxiety is a real thing. It's about you knowing how to manage your anxiety level. What has worked for me is I realized when I maintain an open mind that failure is a natural part of life and a valuable learning experience, then I am less likely to be consumed by this anxiety, consumed by this fear. How about you? I mean, I honestly, and this is my personal opinion, I honestly believe that if you're not making mistakes, if you're not failing, that is, then you're not trying hard enough. Think of that child who is learning how to walk. How many times do they fall? How many times do they fail or make a mistake? And that is exhibited by falling. How many times? But you don't see them sitting down. They get up and they're back onto that saddle and they're walking. Each one of us listening to this today have gone through that. That was a different season. And today you are walking. You are walking, you're using your 2 legs. You are walking because you failed enough times as a toddler. And you built that muscle of balance, that muscle that is in your legs of strength. This is life. It is something natural. And therefore it reduces the fear and the anxiety that would be gripping you. Accept failure as an important part of life. This is what I did. Yes, I have my days when I fail or I make mistakes and I'm like, oh, I can't do this again, Lucy. I really cannot do this. And I get paralyzed. But then I remind myself of these tips that I'm giving you today. So instead of avoiding challenges due to the fear of failure, how about choosing to become more willing to take risks and step out of your comfort zone? It's easier said than done because our minds enable comfort zones. Why? Our mind protects us. And therefore our mind keeps us in comfort zones because these are things that we know how to do. We literally have the manual. In fact, we wrote the manual. We own the factory. Whatever process this is, we have it naturally. A comfort zone. So your brain protects you. The minute you want to transcend and try something new, then you get crippled by fear. The idea of failure begins to come into your mind, and then you can't move forward. You get stressed. You start having negative self-talk. I can't do this. This belongs to those people who have that capacity. I don't have that capacity. Well, there was a time you didn't have a capacity for something that you're doing today with so much ease, as though you were born doing it. You learned it. So instead of avoiding challenges due to the fear of failure, I encourage you to become more willing to take risks and step out of that comfort zone. Your brain will learn a new normal. And that new normal now becomes your new comfort zone. And this is growth. I hope I am speaking to somebody. Great to see you there, Paul. Great to see you there, Joanne. Great to see you there, Zai. We are talking today about filling your cup with lessons in life. And this can lead to a sense of liberation and empowerment as you realize that failure does not define your worth, nor does it define your capabilities. Failure is that stepping stone to success. Failure is a stepping stone to success. Well, my third tip for the day is increase self-compassion. And if you have been following me, you'll see that I'm big on empathy, especially empathy under the construct of emotional intelligence. That is one of the pillars of EQ, emotional intelligence. So when you look at empathy, there are three aspects of empathy that I always talk about. Maybe there are more, but there are three that I subscribe to. The first one is cognitive empathy. It means you are seeing something, you're seeing it happen like an out-of-body experience, so you're just registering it in your mind, hence cognitive. And when you are doing something like that, you're just aware of what's happening. You're not doing anything about it. Now, the spotlight is you're looking at something happening. How about turning that spotlight onto yourself and now considering whatever it is that you are experiencing in life as an out-of-body experience? You're looking as if you're a third party looking in. That is cognitive empathy. You're just aware of what is happening, but you're not doing anything about it. That's cognitive. Then we move on to emotional therapy. Now, emotional therapy is that time you watch a movie and suddenly you've got this lump in your throat. I'm sure you can all relate. Or you've got tears in your eyes. Or you are laughing like crazy because of what this meme or GIF or movie or person is doing. You have been moved to an emotion of what is happening outside you. Now turn it around, because we're talking about self. Turn it around and have that spotlight on yourself. What kind of emotions are your thoughts moving you to? Only you can answer that question. And only you can answer that question when you have that awareness of emotional empathy of self. So now you're aware of the kind of emotions that are evoked from you as a result of a situation. In this case, failure. So you've made a mistake. You have failed at something, whether it was an interview, whether it was a project, or whether it was a pitch. Like the other day, I was running a pitch and I wasn't sure when I walked out of that pitch, did I have it or not? I wasn't in charge of the pitch. And therefore, it wasn't my place to say or to ask, do we have it? No. But if I was running the pitch, that's what I would have asked for. What are the following steps? So was that a failure? Was that a mistake? Maybe not. But the point is, you have turned the spotlight on yourself, and I did. And as I turned the spotlight on myself, I began to ask myself, how did this sit with me? What emotion has it evoked? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling fulfilled? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling happy? Those are the emotions we're talking about. So that is turning the spotlight on you. So back onto the compassion, the third type of empathy is compassionate empathy. This now means not only are you taking stock of what's happening within yourself and outside, not only have you attached an emotion to it, to yourself, and therefore you are attracting the emotion from without, but now you're actually moved to do something. That's where compassion comes in. And therefore the spotlight is on you. We are talking about increasing self-compassion. How do you do that? Number one, put the spotlight on you, especially when you feel you have made a mistake, because at times it's just a perception. Put that spotlight on yourself and write down those thoughts that come to mind. Embracing failure often goes hand in hand with practicing self-compassion. Because when you make this mistake, only you can extend grace to yourself first. Don't expect other people to extend you grace. If anything, they may put you down. They may point out your mistakes. And the criticism may not be positive. And this just makes you sink even deeper into the fear we're talking about, the anxiety, the stress that we're referring to. So for yourself, when the spotlight is on you, you can control that. Instead of being overly self-critical and harsh when facing setbacks, Choose to view this failure as a lesson. Remember the gift I talked about, the silver lining in the beginning? As a result, you will find yourself treating yourself with greater kindness and understanding. You will be able to see that these are things that are going to help you move forward. I, for one, have learned how to forgive myself. Saying sorry to myself. Writing a letter of forgiveness to myself. This has helped me to alter my self-talk. I'm very careful about the words I use unto myself. At times, the emotion overtakes me and I use really harsh words on myself. But because of the awareness, I'm suddenly aware that I did that, and I forgive myself and I take a few steps back. When I'm extending this to other people, I choose to look at the individual, not the situation. Because situations come and go. They change, guys. Whatever you're experiencing today has a start and has an end. It is never going to be long-ended, open-ended. It will come to an end. Seasons come and go. But what remains constant is you. So increase your self-compassion. It has worked for me. Look at the individual, not the situation. This helps you to deal with it better. Ask the individual, how are you doing? Turn the spotlight to yourself. How am I doing? Engage yourself. There's me, myself, and I. There are 3 of us here. We can hold a meeting. How are we doing, guys? And my cup is fuller for this specific experience. And I do hope that it helps you. In addition, I recognize that everybody makes mistakes. I am my worst critic. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist. It can be a strength, but at times it can be my downfall. Because I'm a perfectionist, I tend to procrastinate. I wait for all the I's to be dotted and the T's to be crossed before I do something, but then opportunities leave because of the fear of failure. I want everything to be linear. I'm recovering right now from my procrastination because of this awareness that I need to be able to fill my cup with lessons from these failures. How do I do that if I'm not making mistakes? That failure is a part of my life. I need to extend grace to myself and to others. Mistakes will happen. Even right now, I'm sure mistakes are happening. Now, this shift towards self-compassion can have a profound impact on mental wellness by reducing that self-criticism. I am really one of those people with a high sense of self-criticism. And this will help me to promote my self-esteem and my self-worth. And there we have it, those 3 tips. Embracing failure as lessons can foster a growth mindset. It can reduce fear and anxiety related to failure and promote self-compassion. I can't put it any clearer than that. I hope that I have spoken to somebody today. These positive psychological changes can contribute to improved mental wellness because it's going to enhance your resilience. It has enhanced mine, and this is why I'm sharing these tips with you. It has increased my overall well-being. I am more of a creator nowadays. When I find myself becoming a victim, I have that moment of, whoops, Lucy, the language that you are using. So 3 takeaways. I never leave you without the takeaways as we're coming to the end of our session. Takeaway number 1, choose to see the silver lining of failure. Choose to see the silver lining of failure. Number 2, accept that failure is part of life. Mistakes will happen. And I'm telling you, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. You're not like that child who keeps on learning how to walk, stands up and falls. 2 seconds, gets up, takes a step, falls, tries to look for resources, support around, but ends up walking and running. And here we are today. Number 3 is extend grace. Mistakes will happen. Extend grace to yourself. Forgive yourself. My love for failure is deep because it helps me to grow. I hope I've been able to convert you, because embracing failures as lessons can indeed have various merits and positive impact on mental wellness. So I encourage you to enrich, refresh, and nurture your mental health by filling your cup with lessons. I'd love to hear back from you what you thought about this session. Share with me what other tips we can add so we can have more people listening to us, more people learning from us on personal development. The recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel by this evening, and that is LMC Consultancy. And hop on then, subscribe for updates on our sessions. Check out our courses on our website, lmcconsultancy.com, for more learnings. And our social media platforms have great tips on personal development. I am that guru of personal development and mental wellness. And you can find me here, of course, on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on TikTok as Lucy, your clarity coach. Next week, we will be filling our cup with servanthood, a type of leadership. I absolutely love that one. And until then, let us help build one another. Please be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.